Welcome to the Pimp Your Brilliance podcast with Monique Malcolm, a show about leveraging your existing knowledge, unique skills, or passion to build a thriving creative business. I aim to show you what's really possible when you stop letting fear have all the fun and start taking action towards your goals. You can learn more about this show and subscribe for updates by visiting pimpyourbrilliance.com. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Pimp Your Brilliance. I'm so glad that you're here. This is episode number 116, and you can find show notes at pimpyourbrilliance.com/116. Today, I'm really excited to be kicking off a new 4-week podcast series called Brilliant Biz Bootcamp, or BBB for short. My goal with this Brilliant Biz Bootcamp series is to teach you a concept that is essential in monetizing your creative business. So these are topics that I'm covering all the time, either with clients, members of the Brilliance Lounge, or just seeing people asking similar questions or not understanding these concepts over on social media. And so I'm going to help you get all of this figured out, nail it, so that way you can start monetizing your business and move forward with clarity and a lot more confidence. So each week you're going to walk away with actionable takeaways and a related resource for further exploration. You can gain access to the resources by visiting pimpyourbrilliance.com/bootcamp or checking out the show notes. You'll find the link there. Today's lesson is all about defining the audience of your creative business. And if you've been listening for a while, you know this is essential. I'm always hammering in, you need to know who your audience is. Before you do anything, you need to know who you're talking to and who your marketing efforts are directed towards. So if you have really struggled with defining your audience, figuring out who that is, then you need to grab a pen or a pencil and start taking some notes, because we're going to go over exactly how you do that. So why does defining your audience matter? Why is this important? Everything that you do in your business comes back to your audience. As a matter of fact, having a clear, defined audience sets the foundation for your business to be successful. Defining your audience helps you create contact that attracts your ideal customers. It helps you develop products or services that speak to their pain points. And if you ever decide to go the route of paying for advertisement or even influencers, you need to have some identifying factors to make sure that you can advertise effectively, that you know who you're actually targeting. The more generic and broad your audience is, the harder it will be for you to attract your ideal customers and show that your business is right for them. This is where a lot of creators get stuck. They want to cast a wide net with their audience, and they believe that focusing on a specific group of people leaves too many other people out. And that is completely false and a big mistake. Carving out a specific segment of people for your business to focus on means you can speak directly to them and to their needs. And this makes everything you do, from content creation to product development to marketing, so much easier. So how do you actually go about defining your audience? I have 3 steps. The first is get specific by defining your audience demographics. Now, there are plenty of activities designed to help you define your audience, but we're going to keep things simple. If you have already worked with clients or people one-to-one, or you have an existing audience that you are already engaging with, this is going to be a lot easier. But I want you to take a moment and imagine a person who you know who is starting out on the journey that you want to help with. Think about it. See that person in your mind. This should be someone that you've met in real life. So it can be a friend, a relative, a coworker, a former client, existing audience members that you chat with quite a bit on social media, whoever. But choosing this specific person gives you a realistic starting point. So we're not going to just be throwing wild guesses out there. We're going to actually start with somebody that we know and some things that we already know about that person. So write that person's name down. And then I want you to think about, why did this person come to mind? What makes them an ideal audience member? So keep those things, hold on to those things in your mind. Now, start thinking about the demographics of the person that you chose and fill in some of the details. So some basic demographic information you're going to want to know. Age, or an age range. And keep in mind, with age, if you're going the route of an age range of 20 to 50 is way too broad. People who are in their 20s and people who are in their 50s, completely different places in their life, things that they're thinking about. So you need to narrow that time frame in. Probably within about 10 years, you can go slightly outside of that. But an age range that spans 20 to 30 years, that's way too broad. So you want to dial that back in. Gender. So what is their gender expression? Where do they live? What's their income level? Family status. So are they single? Are they married? Education level. Do they have high school degrees? Do they have higher education like college or even master degrees? And then what do they do for work? These are just all basic details that you want to note about this person that you have identified as a potential ideal audience member. Once you have the basic demographics filled in, you're going to move on to psychographic details of this person. And psychographic details help you understand the feelings, the values, the interests, and the lifestyle choices of your audience. So this might include things like their habits and their hobbies or their spending habits. What do they like to read? What do they like to do in their free time? Those types of things. Here are some psychographic questions that you're going to want to think about and figure out answers for. So what kind of circumstances affect the way that your person lives or works? What do they care about? What values do they hold? What are their interests or their hobbies? How does this person spend their days, their weekends? And as a pro tip, it's okay if you can't answer all of these questions right away. Make your best guess based on the information that you already have. And you can also gather more information by surveying your existing audience, talking with them, posting things on social media, and just listening to how they respond and getting a better feel of what types of things are going on in their life. There's also more questions about this in the Defining Your Audience worksheet, which is the resource for this lesson. Once you do that, take all of the information you have and use it to create a snapshot of your audience. This becomes your ideal audience. And here's an example of my ideal audience. So my ideal audience is women around the ages of 28 to 45. They're solopreneurs in year 0 to 3 of running their business, and they're passionate about creativity, helping others, and achieving financial independence. So that is my ideal audience snapshot. As you can see, it's very specific, but it still talks about a group of people who I can potentially target with my message in hopes that they have problems that I can help solve with my business, and that will turn them into ideal customers. Step 2, think about what your audience needs your help with. So chances are your audience has a lot of problems and a lot of challenges. We all do. It's a part of the human experience. We are complex beings. So there's going to be a lot of things that are going on. You alone cannot solve all of the problems of your audience. Let me say that again. You cannot solve every one of your audience's problems. And that is not a knock on your capabilities. It would be extremely overwhelming for you to try. Instead, think of all of the things your audience needs help with and pick 1 to 3 things for you to focus on that are within your wheelhouse of skills or experiences, perspectives that you can offer. And that's it. Just 1 to 3 things. You're really trying to help your audience get from point A to B and maybe from point B to C, but your goal is not to get them from A to Z. So leave the rest of the problems to someone else. And now that you've already identified your ideal audience, you have that snapshot, I want you to think about, what do these people need your help with? Some questions that you can think about to help get those juices flowing. What dreams do they have for their life? What are their challenges? What are they searching for online? What information would help them reach their goals? What is the problem that they're struggling with? And why haven't they fixed this problem on their own? What information or details are they missing? What outcomes are they looking to achieve? So with these dreams and problems they have, what are the outcomes that they actually want? What are the solutions they're looking for? After you've thought through all of that information and you have identified the 3 areas that you want to focus on for your specific business, the 3 problems or challenges that you have identified for your audience, that brings you over to step 3, which is write an audience persona. An audience persona is a fictional profile of a person representing your ideal audience. It differs from your ideal audience because it hones in on one specific person versus a broad snapshot of your audience. So yes, this whole time we started out with thinking about one specific person in order to figure out the ideal audience, like that broad snapshot of people. Now we're taking it one step further and we're going into the head of that one person and building a fictional profile. So at this point, you can keep that person named as the person that you identified in the beginning, or you can come up with a fictional name for that person. But what you're going to do is take the information that you've gathered so far. So the demographic information, the psychographic information, and information about their challenges, and you're going to build out a profile of this person and write a short story about them. So this is a paragraph or 2 that details their demographics, challenges, dreams, and the outcomes that they want. So I'm going to share with you my audience persona, and my person's name is Melissa. She's 35. She's a teacher moonlighting as a content creator. She has a blog and a YouTube channel where she posts helpful tutorials and tips about content marketing and SEO. Because of her limited time and her full schedule, Melissa doesn't have time to consume lengthy resources or courses. She wants to learn as much as she can, but she needs short and actionable things that she can implement right away. As a content creator, she cares about consistency and building her business in a way that doesn't take away from her living her life. And in her spare time, she likes to read, enjoy a nice beer, and work out. So as you can see, I have this picture of Melissa and some of her needs and her desires all built out. And that is my audience persona. So I want you to create something similar for your business. And then I want you to think about drilling down as much as you can into your ideal customer, because you want your audience to know without a shadow of a doubt that your business is speaking to them. So try to get into their head. Try to think about what they would be feeling, what they would be doing, what they would be thinking. These are all bits and pieces of information that you want to try to glean about your audience over time. And here's the thing. You don't need to know every single detail about your audience right now, okay? This is something that you're going to constantly be refining over time. So you're going to want to save this document and come back to it to update. But just know you need something to point you in the right direction. So this is your starting point. Try to get as much information as you can. Also, it's very likely that your business might appeal to people outside of your ideal audience. That's perfectly fine. I gave you my ideal audience, and as I mentioned, it's women, but there are men that listen to this podcast and they are very vocal. So it's fine if there are people outside of your ideal audience that like what you have to offer. It's perfectly fine. Most businesses, especially larger ones, have several audience personas and entire teams dedicated to doing that type of market research of identifying who those different segments of their audience are. But as a small creative business, for now, you just need one ideal audience, one defined audience for you to focus your marketing on and get started. So just start there and try to gather as much information as you can. So here are your next steps. Go to pimpyourbrilliance.com/bootcamp to access your Defining Your Audience worksheet. Use those worksheets to help you identify and define your ideal audience, figure out the problems and challenges of your audience, and then create your audience persona. If you enjoyed this episode, there are 3 ways you can support the show. You can leave a review in your favorite podcast player. You can share a screenshot of this episode on your favorite social network, or you can buy me a coffee over at pimpyourbrilliance.com/coffee. But that's all I have for this week's episode. So until next time, go out there and pimp your brilliance.